Okay, now that everything we've been working so far is basically to get to the point where we learn to graph this. Remember how during the week I ask you guys to identify the zeros? Sometimes I call it zeros, sometimes I call it x-intercepts. Same thing. And I also ask you guys to identify a vertex. So let's do that. Let's do that here real quick. Let me identify the vertex. So here, my A value is 1. My B value is -5. And my C value is 4. So let me start with identifying the vertex. The X coordinate, so the X value of my vertex is -B over 2 times A. So in this case, I have a negative of a -5. That's going to be +5 divided by 2 times A, so 2. My X value is going to be 2.5. That's fine. We can deal with that. We can deal with decimals. 2.5 is right in between 2 and 3, like right in the middle. Okay, now let's find the Y value. Since my equation is x squared minus 5 times x plus 4. So let me go 2.5 squared minus 5 times 2.5 plus 4. I'm going to do it like that. Now, 2.5 squared, basically 2.5 times 2.5, that gives me 6.25. Now 5 times 2.5 is 12.5. So I have 12.5 and then a plus 4. I'm going to leave the plus and minus all the way to the end. 6.25 minus 12.5 plus 4 happens to be -2.25. Oh, wow. Our vertex, our X value is 2.5. Our Y value is -2.25. And I'm going to say that vertex happens to be right there. Some of you might be wondering, oh my God, am I really going to have my vertex to be that complicated? No, honestly, no. I just wanted to work a hard one, because if we can work a hard one, then together we can work a hard one together. You can work the easy ones. Okay. Now, let me ask you this. Look at the A value. Remember how I say A value is +1? Because my A value is positive, I expect this to be a U open up. Starting from my vertex, I expect a U shape open up. If my A value was negative, I will expect the U open down. Okay, so I just know that it's an open up thing. Now, what are my x-intercepts or my zeros? Like we can call it either way. Now, I remembered the quadratic formula. Remember, x is equal to -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That's going to give me my two x-intercepts. The quadratic formula, the discriminant, the square root part, that's the hard part. So I'm just going to look at b squared minus 4ac, and then I'll get the square root of that. So in my case, I'm looking at -5 all squared minus 4 times 1 times 4. And then whatever I get, I'll get the square root of that. I know -5 squared is +25. And then minus 4 times 1 times 4 is 16. 25 minus 16 is 9. And the square root of that is 3. Now, that is basically all of this. So let me rewrite my formula. Negative b, but since my b is negative to begin with, so the negative of a negative is positive. So let me write this as 5 plus or minus 3 all over 2, right? 2 times a. So my two zeros, one of them I'm going to go 5 minus 3 over 2, and the other one I'm going to go 5 plus 3 over 2. So for the first one, I have 2 over 2, right? Because 5 minus 3 is 2. So 2 over 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. For the other one, I have 8 over 2, right? Because 5 plus 3 is 8. So I have 8 over 2, but 8 divided by 2 is 4. My two zeros are 1 and 4. My two x-intercepts are 1 and 4. What does that mean on my graph? On the x-axis, let me mark 1 and 4. That's why sometimes we call it x-intercepts because they are on the x-axis. Sometimes we call it the zeros because the y value is 0. Okay, have an idea? So I'm going to say my graph should look something like this. Now, some of you might be like, well, I'm sure on my choices, I don't see it that opened. I see it more closed like this. Okay, well, that's fine. As long as it crosses the vertex in the x-intercepts, we have a good idea. Can we be a little bit off? Yes. You want to be more accurate? Instead of just those 3 points, come up with other points, and you're going to be a little more accurate. Just look at your vertex and your x-intercepts. As long as you cross those, you're good. Let's take a look at question number 16 here. So I'm going to find my vertex. And remember how for my x value, I have my formula negative b divided by 2a. Remember how my a here is negative 1, my b is 4, and my c is negative 4. So for my x value, I'm looking at negative 4 divided by negative 2. Well, negative 4 divided by negative 2, that's positive 2. Right, because negative divided by negative is positive, 4 divided by 2 is 2. So my x-intercept is, on my vertex, I mean the x value is 2. Good. What about the y value? Since the equation is negative x squared plus 4x minus 4, instead of x, let me write a 2. So I have negative 2 squared plus 4 times 2 minus 4. So that gives me negative 4 plus 8 minus 4. According to my calculator, that's 0. So the coordinates 2, 0, that's my vertex. That goes right here. Okay, good. That's an easy point to plot, 2, 0. My graph, I expect it to be open down because my a value is negative, so I expect it to be open down. If I wanted to get my zeros, my x-intercepts, I remember the quadratic formula. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Okay, so let me get, first part I'm going to get is b squared minus 4ac, and then I'll do the square root on that. So I'm going to go 4 squared minus 4 times a negative 1 times a negative 4. So I have 16 minus, right, because those two cancel out. 4 times 1 times 4 is 16. So 0, but the square root of 0 is 0. Interesting. So I'm going to do negative 4 plus or minus 0 all over -2. So I'm going to go -4 minus 0 over -2. I'm also going to do -4 plus 0 over -2. I know -4 minus 0 is -4. -4 divided by -2 is +2. Looking at the other one, I have -4 over -2, so it gives me +2. So that I get the same 0, right? What that means is on the x-axis, 2, I touched the x-axis at 2, but I'm like, wait a minute. I already knew that. I already knew that because my vertex is on the x-axis. So I only touch at one point. Okay. How am I going to figure this out? How am I going to figure other 2 points? Well, remember how my equation, let me change this to black. My equation is -x² plus 4x minus 4. I know my vertex, the x value is 2, right? So what if I try with the 3? What if I pick a number close to 2? Pick a number close to 2. I'm going to pick 3. Okay, so I'm going to go -3 squared plus 4 times 3 minus 4. So I have -9 plus 12 minus 4. That's -1, right? Okay, so the point 3, -1 is on my graph. I'm going to put it right here. Now, one cool thing is that it also copies on this side. Whatever happens on one side, it happens on the other side. Okay, have a good idea now. This thing is going to look like that. So you need to find your vertex and you need to find your x-intercepts. If by any chance you either get only one x-intercept or 0 x-intercepts, because that can happen, like a number 16, then you got to come out with another value of x. You have your vertex. Remember how my vertex was that the x value was 2, and I pick a number close to 2. Okay, that should be good.